My husband was in the shower when his phone lit up on the bathroom counter. I was only in there to grab my hair clip. Steam rolled over the mirror. The water was running. Grant was humming like a man who had no idea his entire marriage was about to begin ending on a glowing lock screen. The message came from someone saved as EM office. Our new place is ready. I put the blue folder in my bag. She still thinks the audit is next month. For a few seconds, I did not breathe. Not because of the words our new place. Not even because of the woman. Affairs are devastating, but they are understandable in the brutal way a car crash is understandable once you see the skid marks. No, it was the blue folder. I knew that folder, but blue folders were what Grant used for financial closing documents at our company. The company my father built. The company I owned 60% of. The company Grant had been helping me stabilize for the last 18 months while telling everyone I was too anxious to handle operations. The shower kept running. His phone lit up again. "Are you sure she is asleep?" I looked at the bathroom door. I looked at the steam. I looked at my own face in the mirror, calm in a way that scared me. Then I unlocked his phone with the passcode I was not supposed to know and typed back, "Come over. She is asleep." 12 minutes later, the doorbell rang, and the moment I opened the door, I instantly wished I had not done that. Because the woman standing on my porch was not just my husband's mistress. She was holding the file that proved he had been planning to erase me. My name is Ava Monroe, and until that night, I thought betrayal had a sound, a confession. A shout, a suitcase zipper, a wine glass breaking against kitchen tile, something dramatic enough to match the damage, but real betrayal is often quiet. It sounds like a shower running upstairs while the man who kisses your forehead every morning receives a text about the apartment he leased with someone else. It sounds like your own fingers tapping a trap into his phone before your brain catches up. It sounds like a doorbell. Grant and I had been married for 9 years. We met when he was a junior accountant at Monroe Medical Supply, the regional distribution company my father started in a rented warehouse with 2 delivery vans and a belief that hospitals should not wait 3 weeks for basic equipment. Grant was smart, polished, careful. He wore navy suits and remembered birthdays. My father liked him because he could explain spreadsheets without making warehouse managers feel stupid. I liked him because he made me feel steadier. When Dad died 4 years ago, everything changed. I became majority owner overnight. My mother had passed years earlier, and my younger brother was a musician in Seattle, with no interest in supply chains, oxygen tubing, billing codes, or fleet maintenance. I had worked inside the company since college, but grief made every decision feel underwater. Grant stepped in gently. "Let me carry the finance side for a while," he said. "You focus on people." That sounded like love. It became control. At first, it was practical. He took over vendor negotiations. He reviewed payroll. He handled insurance renewals and bank meetings. Then he began telling department heads to route questions through him because Ava is overloaded. He told our accountant I was not sleeping. He told board advisor Thomas Greer that I was making emotional decisions. He told me I should take a step back for my health. The worst part was that I believed some of it. Grief had made me tired. Anxiety had made me cautious. Grant used real weakness as scaffolding for a false story. By the time Elise Mercer arrived as his executive assistant, half the company already treated me like a symbol instead of the owner. Elise was 28, bright, efficient, and beautiful in that clean office way that makes even paper clips around her look intentional. She started as temporary administrative support during a software migration. Within 2 months, Grant made her permanent. Within 4, she knew his calendar better than I knew my own. Within 6, she sat in meetings where my name appeared on the agenda, but my chair did not. She keeps me organized. Grant said whenever I questioned her access, "She is approving vendor files because I asked her to prepare packets. She is in the bank portal, view only. She sent Thomas the monthly numbers before I saw them." He sighed, rubbed his temples, and said the sentence that had become his favorite weapon. "Ava, this is exactly the kind of reaction people are worried about. People. Never him. People. Invisible witnesses recruited into every argument." I started writing things down, not because I suspected an affair then, but because I could feel my reality being shaved thinner. Dates, meetings, comments, Portal changes, files sent without copying me, little things, boring things. The kind of boring things that later become evidence if you survive long enough to organize them. My sister-in-law once told me I had become paranoid. Thomas said Grant was only trying to protect the company. Even my brother, Miles, said, maybe let him handle the stressful stuff until you feel like yourself again. I wanted to scream that maybe I did not feel like myself because everyone kept treating me like an unreliable narrator in my own life. But I did not scream. I smiled. I worked. I checked dashboards late at night. I restored admin access quietly after Elise removed it by mistake. I copied bank statements. I saved emails. I learned that silence can be weakness, yes, but it can also be surveillance. Then came the Thursday night shower. Grant had come home cheerful. Too cheerful. He kissed my cheek, said he had a long day, and went upstairs to shower before dinner. I went in after him for a hair clip, because we were supposed to go to Thomas's retirement dinner the next evening, and I was testing styles in the mirror like a woman with normal problems. His phone lit up. Our new place is ready. I wish I could tell you I felt rage first. I felt clarity. The blue folder meant this was bigger than a bed. Before I replied, I did 3 things. First, I used my phone to take photos of his lock screen messages. Then I opened his message thread because his passcode was still our wedding date backward, a detail that would have been romantic if it were not so lazy. The thread went back months. Dinner plans, hotel names, apartment viewings. Jokes about me being fragile. One message from Grant said, after Friday, she will not be able to block anything. Thomas already thinks she is unstable. Second, I turned on the small kitchen camera we used when my nephew visited and pointed it toward the entryway from the app. Grant had installed cameras around the house after a package theft. He forgot I knew the admin password because I had paid the installer. Third, I texted my brother. Do not call. Save this. If I send video, download immediately. Grant is doing something with company documents. Miles replied, what happened? I typed, doorbell soon. Then I sent the message from Grant's phone. Come over. She is asleep. I placed his phone exactly where it had been, screen down beside the sink. The shower stopped. I walked out. Grant came downstairs 10 minutes later in jeans and a black t-shirt, hair damp, smelling like cedar soap. He looked relaxed until he saw me sitting in the living room with the lights dimmed. You okay? He asked. Just tired. You want to skip dinner? No. He studied me. Grant was good at reading my face when he needed advantage. That night, I gave him nothing. Then the doorbell rang. His body reacted before his expression did. A tiny lock in his shoulders. A half turn toward the hallway. The animal math of surprise. Are you expecting someone? I asked. He opened his mouth, closed it, then said, no. I stood. He followed. At the door, I looked through the side window first. Elise stood on the porch wearing a cream coat, holding a leather tote and a bottle of champagne in a gold bag. She was smiling until she saw my face through the glass. Then she stopped smiling. I opened the door. For one frozen second, all 3 of us stood inside the truth. Elise whispered, where is Grant? I smiled. Right behind me. The champagne bag slipped from her fingers and hit the porch with a dull little thud. Grant said, Elise. Not, what are you doing here? Not Ava. This is not what it looks like. Not the useless sentences guilty men borrow from movies. Just her name. That was worse, because it told me the shock was not that she had come. The shock was that I had answered. Elise looked from him to me, and something like panic moved through her polished face. You texted me. I know, I said. Grant stepped forward. Ava, give me my phone. Why? His voice dropped. Do not do this. Do what? Invite your guest inside? Elise clutched the tote strap. I noticed the blue folder tucked inside, corner visible. Monroe Medical Supply Blue, heavy stock, the kind we used for lender packets. I reached for it. She jerked back. Grant grabbed my wrist. That was the first time in 9 years he put his hand on me with force, not enough to bruise, enough to instruct. The kitchen camera caught it perfectly. I looked down at his fingers, then up at his face. Take your hand off me. For a second he did not. Then he remembered the porch light, the neighbor across the street, Elise watching, and released me. Elise said, Grant told me you knew. I almost laughed. Knew what? That you were sleeping with my husband? That you leased an apartment together? That there is a blue folder in your bag with company documents? Be specific. I have had a long evening." Her eyes filled, but tears did not fall. "He said the marriage was over. He said you were refusing to sign papers because you were trying to punish him." Grant said sharply, "Elise, stop." I turned to him. "No, let her continue." He reached for the folder in her tote. She stepped back. That movement saved me months of guessing. Elise was guilty. Yes, but she was also realizing she might have been given a different script. I said, "Come in." Grant said, "Absolutely not." I looked at Elise. "If you leave with that folder, I call the police and my attorney tonight. If you come in, sit at my kitchen table, and explain what you were bringing to my house, I will listen before deciding what happens next." Grant laughed once, ugly and low. "You hear yourself? This is why everyone is concerned." I looked at the camera lens above the bookshelf. "Good," I said. "Then everyone can be concerned with witnesses." His face changed. Elise came inside. That was the moment I instantly wished I had not invited her. Not because I feared the affair. That was already bleeding in the room. I wished I had not invited her, because the second she sat at my kitchen table and opened the blue folder, I understood Grant had not simply betrayed my marriage. He had built a legal trap around my grief. The first page was an apartment lease. 2 bedrooms, downtown, signed by Grant and Elise 3 days earlier. Move-in date, Friday. The second page was a draft separation agreement prepared by an attorney I had never met. The third was a petition for emergency business control pending evaluation of majority owner capacity, my capacity. There were notes in Grant's handwriting of a volatile after discovery, document refusal to cooperate, Thomas statement, Elise witness if needed, transfer reserve before service. I felt the room tilt. Elise covered her mouth. "He told me these were divorce papers." "They are," I said, "for the company too." Grant stood by the counter, pale with rage. "She stole confidential documents." I looked at him. "From your mistress?" He flinched at the word. Elise opened another section. Bank transfer authorization forms, vendor payment holds, a request to move $240,000 from operating reserves into a new continuity account requiring Grant's approval. Draft board memo, temporary financial stabilization protocol, during owner health crisis. Owner health crisis. My hands went cold. For 18 months, Grant had been telling people I was fragile so that when he needed to take the company, no one would be surprised, Elise whispered. "He said you were going to destroy the business." I looked at her. "Did he also say the company is mine?" She hesitated. That was answer enough. Grant slammed his palm on the counter. "You are twisting this. Everything I did was to protect what your father built. My father built it for me. You were drowning. I was grieving. You were irrational. You were useful to yourself when I was tired." Elise looked between us. The camera kept recording. Miles kept downloading clips from the link I had sent. Grant did not know that yet. Then Elise removed one final item from the folder, a printed email from Thomas Greer to Grant. "If Ava refuses the transition tomorrow, I am prepared to support temporary removal from active authority. Her recent behavior concerns me. Thomas's retirement dinner was not a dinner. It was a vote rehearsal." I called Thomas from the kitchen table. Grant told me not to. That was why I did. It was 8:47 p.m. Thomas answered on the 4th ring with the weary warmth of a man who had spent 40 years believing he understood people. "Ava?" "I am sitting with Grant and Elise." Silence. "Elise?" "Yes, she brought the blue folder." Longer silence. Then Thomas said, "Ava, maybe we should speak tomorrow when emotions are lower." "My emotions are not the problem. The documents are." Grant reached for the phone. I stepped back. "Thomas," I said, "did you agree to support temporary removal of my authority at tomorrow's dinner?" Grant whispered, "Hang up." Thomas exhaled. Grant presented serious concerns. "Did he tell you he signed an apartment lease with Elise?" "Nothing." "Did he tell you he planned to move operating reserves into an account I did not approve?" "Nothing." "Did he tell you Elise was bringing those papers to my house tonight because he thought I was asleep?" Thomas said very quietly, "No." That no was the first honest sound of the evening. I said, "I am sending you photographs. If you participate in any action against my authority tomorrow before independent counsel reviews these documents, you will be part of the record." I hung up. Grant looked at me like I had become someone new. Maybe I had. Elise started crying then. Not pretty tears, real ones. Mascara at the edges, breath-catching. He said you were cruel. He said you held him hostage with the company. He said he could not leave because you would ruin him. I wanted to hate her cleanly. It would have been easier. But she looked young suddenly, and I remembered how Grant sounded when he made himself the reasonable victim. How persuasive concern can be when delivered by a man who never raises his voice. You still knew he was married, I said. She nodded. Yes, no excuses. Good, not enough. But good, Grant laughed. This is touching. Are you two going to form a support group? I turned toward him. This is my house. I looked around the kitchen. The house was purchased during our marriage, yes, but the down payment came from my inheritance. The mortgage came from our joint account. The deed had both names. He had enough legal foothold to be dangerous, so I chose the sentence I could enforce. Then I will leave. That scared him more, because if I left with the folder, the phone photos, the video, and Elise as a shaken witness, he lost the room. I picked up my bag. Grant stepped in front of the door, and the doorbell rang again. This time, it was Miles. My brother stood on the porch in a denim jacket, hair messy from driving too fast, holding his phone like a weapon he did not know how to use. Behind him stood his husband, Aaron, who is a high school principal and has the calmest crisis face I have ever seen. Grant looked at me. You called your brother? I texted him. Miles stepped inside before anyone invited him. He saw Elise, the blue folder, Grant's face, my wrist red where Grant had grabbed me earlier, and something in him hardened. Ava, he said. Come with us. Grant switched voices. It was almost impressive. Miles, this is a marital issue. Aaron said, then why is your assistant here at 9 at night with company control documents? Grant looked at him with pure hatred. Elise slid the folder toward me. That movement sealed her choice. Grant saw it too. You stupid girl, he said. The words were aimed at Elise, but every woman in the room felt the history behind them. Miles moved forward. Aaron caught his sleeve. I said, Grant, stop talking. He did not. You have no idea what she is like, he said to Elise. She will use you, then discard you. She learned from her father. That company turns everyone into servants. My father paid your salary for 7 years, I said, and I kept his little princess from losing it all. There it was, not concern. Contempt, the thing underneath every gentle suggestion, every capacity comments, every private correction. Miles's voice went low. Say that again, Grant pointed at him. You ran off to play guitar while I kept this place alive. Miles laughed once. I own 20%, Grant. The room froze. Grant had forgotten, or pretended to forget, that my father left Miles a minority stake. Miles never exercised control because he trusted me, because he trusted Grant through me. Now he opened his phone. I just sent the video clip of you grabbing Ava to Thomas, he said. And the one where you called her unstable after your girlfriend opened a folder about removing her from her own company. Grant's mouth closed. Miles continued. I also saved the lock screen photos. Aaron is emailing everything to Layla Hart right now. Layla Hart was our family attorney. She had handled Dad's estate and still reviewed shareholder agreements. Grant knew her. He knew she did not bluff. His face changed from anger to calculation. That frightened me more. Anger is weather. Calculation is architecture. Grant did not attack. Men like him rarely do when witnesses arrive. He stepped back, lifted both hands, and said, Fine. Everyone leave. We will discuss this with attorneys. It sounded reasonable. That made it dangerous. I left with Miles, Aaron, Elise, and the blue folder. Elise did not come to my brother's house. She drove herself to a hotel after giving me her phone number and the apartment lease copy. I did not hug her. I did not comfort her. I told her my attorney would contact her. In Miles's guest room, I sat on the bed and finally shook. Not cried, shook. My body had waited until I was safe to admit it had been afraid. Aaron brought tea. Miles paced. Layla answered her phone at 10:03 p.m., listened for 4 minutes, and said, Do not go home tonight. Do not speak to Grant except in writing. Send me everything. By midnight, she had the videos, photos, folder scans, Thomas's email, the bank transfer drafts, and the separation petition. By 2 a.m., she discovered 2 things. First, Grant had scheduled an emergency advisory meeting for the next morning, disguised as preparation for Thomas's retirement dinner. Second, the operating reserve transfer was set to execute automatically at 9 a.m. If dual approval was entered from Grant's device and Elise's administrative credentials, Elise still had those credentials. At 7:12 a.m., Layla called her. To Elise's credit, she answered. By 8, Elise had signed a sworn statement. Grant had told her the marriage was over. Grant had directed her to prepare the folder. Grant had instructed her to bring it to the house after I was asleep so he could keep Ava calm before presenting papers. Grant had given her approval credentials for the continuity account. Grant had promised her that after Friday, I would have no operational authority and they could move into the apartment without legal chaos. Elise also provided text messages, including one from Grant sent 2 weeks earlier. Once Thomas signs off, Ava will look unstable if she fights it. She always does. Leela read that line aloud over speaker. Miles punched a pillow. I sat very still. For months, I had feared I was losing my mind. Now I was learning someone had been keeping minutes. At 8:46, Layla obtained a temporary freeze through our bank contact and filed emergency notice with the company's outside counsel. At 9, Grant tried to move the reserves. At 9:01, the transaction failed. At 9:02, he called me 12 times. I did not answer. The meeting happened anyway. Not at Thomas's retirement dinner. In the company conference room at 11 a.m., under fluorescent lights, with Layla on one side of me and Miles on the other. Thomas sat at the end of the table, looking 10 years older than the night before. Grant arrived in a navy suit and the expression of a man prepared to be wronged professionally. He looked surprised to see Elise there. She sat near Layla, eyes swollen, hands folded around a paper cup of water. Grant said, "This is inappropriate." Leela smiled. "I agree." Then she began. She laid out the documents one by one. The apartment lease, the affair texts, the draft separation agreement, the emergency business control petition, the reserve transfer authorization, the continuity account, Elise's statement, the kitchen video, the message about making me look unstable, the failed 9 a.m. transfer. Grant said very little at first. His attorney had not arrived yet. He had expected to control the room before I knew there was a room. Thomas looked at me during the third document. "Ava," he said, voice rough. "I believed he was protecting you. I know." That was all I could give him. Layla turned to Thomas. "Your belief nearly helped him remove a majority owner using an affair partner as operational witness." Thomas closed his eyes. Grant finally spoke. "This is character assassination." Elise laughed. It shocked everyone, including her. She covered her mouth, then lowered her hand. "Grant, you brought champagne to celebrate moving into an apartment with me after stripping your wife's authority. Character assassination is generous." Miles whispered, "I like her a little." I kicked him under the table. Grant's face reddened. "You signed the lease too." "Yes," Elise said. "And I will deal with that. But I did not build a fraud packet and call it concern." That sentence landed. Leela slid the final page forward, a resolution removing Grant from financial authority pending forensic review, suspension of administrative access, preservation of records, independent audit, no contact with employees except through counsel, immediate notice to the bank. Miles signed first as minority owner, then I signed. Thomas as advisor signed acknowledgement. Grant stared at the paper like it had betrayed him. I knew the feeling. Then I said the sentence I had been waiting all morning to say. "You are not protecting my father's company anymore." He looked at me. "I am." The forensic audit took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of discoveries that turned my grief into a spreadsheet with teeth. Grant had not stolen everything. That would have been simpler. He had done what polished men do when they believe they are smarter than consequences. He moved fees between vendors, delayed payments, advanced bonuses, created consulting retainers for a company registered under his college roommate's name, used Elise's credentials to route approvals below review thresholds, charged apartment deposits to executive transition planning, paid a divorce strategist from a professional development account. He had not planned to run away poor. He had planned to leave with money, authority, sympathy, and a witness who believed I was unstable enough to deserve it. Elise cooperated because the audit showed her signature on things she had not understood and a few she had. She was not innocent. She admitted that. but she had not known about the full reserve transfer or the legal petition until the folder. She had believed Grant's story because believing it made her feel chosen instead of complicit. The company survived, barely, at first. We lost one vendor after delayed payments surfaced. 2 department heads admitted Grant had told them not to bring concerns to me because I was under medical care. I was not. One employee cried in my office because she had repeated that rumor and felt ashamed. Thomas resigned from the advisory role with a written apology and agreed to testify if needed. Grant fought the divorce for 3 months, then stopped after Layla produced enough evidence to make trial dangerous for him. The company filed civil claims. The consulting retainer scheme was referred for investigation. He lost his role, most of his reputation, the apartment, and eventually Elise too. She sent me one email before moving out of state. I am sorry I helped him hurt you. I know sorry is not repair. I hope the truth gives you back what his story took. I did not reply for 2 days. Then I wrote, tell the truth faster next time. It was not forgiveness. It was instruction. As for Grant, he sent one message after the divorce decree. You destroyed us. I almost responded. Then I realized he had used us the way he used concern, protection, stability, and love. A soft word wrapped around theft. I deleted the message. The company sign still says Monroe Medical Supply. My office door now has my name on it, not because I needed reminding, but because everyone else did. There is something I need to say about the first year after my father died, because it became the place Grant planted the lie. Grief did not make me incompetent. It made me human. I missed meetings because I was signing death certificates and vendor renewals in the same week. I cried once in my office because a driver brought me my father's old safety vest from the warehouse and said he thought I should have it. I made one bad purchasing call because I trusted a supplier Dad had trusted, only to learn the supplier's son was not his father. Normal mistakes, grief mistakes, human mistakes. Grant collected them like coins. He did not say, Ava is collapsing at first. He said, Ava needs support. Who could argue with that? I did need support. He said Ava should not have to handle every number right now. True again. Then, Ava gets overwhelmed when pressured, sometimes. Then, Ava reacts strongly to operational surprises. Only because he kept creating them, by the time he started saying unstable, the room had already accepted overwhelmed. That is how reputations are dismantled quietly. One almost true sentence at a time. After the blue folder night, I went back through 2 years of emails and realized how carefully he had built it. Forwarded threads where my direct answers were removed. Meeting notes describing my concerns as emotional responses. Calendar invitations sent without context, so I arrived unprepared, then seemed defensive. Elise had helped with some of it, maybe knowingly, maybe not. Grant understood that if he could not take my ownership directly, he could make people doubt my capacity to use it. The cruelty was not only that he lied, it was that he used the hardest season of my life as raw material. Miles blamed himself too, and that surprised me. A week after the meeting, he came to my office with takeout and sat cross-legged on the floor like we were teenagers hiding from Dad's lectures. He opened containers of noodles and did not eat. I should have paid attention, he said. You live in Seattle. I own 20%. You trusted me. I trusted Grant through you. That sentence stayed with us. Miles had left the company because Dad's world never fit him. He loved music, soundboards, tiny venues, people who smelled like coffee and amp dust. Dad never understood that kind of work, but he left Miles shares anyway, maybe as apology, maybe as love. Miles never used them because he did not want to become a ghost partner haunting my decisions. Grant had counted on that. I thought staying out was respect, Miles said. It became absence. I told him absence was not the same as betrayal. I meant it, but his absence had created space Grant used. That was true too. After the audit, Miles joined quarterly owner calls, not to control me, to witness. He read reports, asked questions, learned enough financial language to annoy our accountants in a useful way. The first time he caught a duplicate vendor charge, he called me like he had won an award. Dad would be insufferable right now, he said. I laughed until I cried. Family repair did not look like dramatic speeches. It looked like my brother learning accounts payable because he never again wanted my reality to stand alone in a room with a persuasive man. Thomas's apology came in writing first. a handwritten letter on thick cream paper, because men of his generation believe apologies become more serious if a fountain pen suffers through them. I almost threw it away. Then I read it. Ava, your father trusted me to tell him when sentiment was clouding judgment. After his death, I failed to offer you the same respect. I mistook Grant's composure for truth and your grief for unreliability. Worse, I allowed myself to be flattered by the idea that I was helping preserve the company from emotional risk, when the real risk was the man feeding me that story. I am sorry. I will cooperate fully with counsel and will not seek any future advisory authority unless requested by you directly. Thomas, I sat with that letter longer than I expected. Thomas had known me since I was 19. He had seen me work summers in the warehouse, negotiate with drivers, sleep on the office couch during the pandemic supply crisis, and carry my father's oxygen concentrator into his house during hospice. Still, when Grant handed him a story wrapped in concern, Thomas believed the suit. I wanted to hate him. Instead, I filed the letter, not in the evidence folder. In a different folder labeled repairs. It was thinner. It still mattered. People who help harm you do not always get access again, but specific accountability deserves a place somewhere other than the fire. The final lesson was not about affairs. Affairs are old stories. Painful, yes, but ordinary compared with what Grant attempted. The real lesson was narrative control. Whoever tells the calm story often gets believed first, so I built a new rule. No important truth lives in one place. Documents have copies. Conversations get summarized. Business access has logs. Emotional concerns get names. If someone calls me unstable, I ask what fact they are avoiding. If someone says they are protecting me, I ask what power they gain. That may sound guarded. Good. A gate is not a prison when you are the one holding the key. One evening, months after the divorce, I walked through the warehouse after everyone left. The delivery vans were parked in 2 clean rows. The shelves were stocked. The air smelled like cardboard rubber and the mint gum my father used to chew. I stood under the old Monroe sign and finally felt something unclench. Grant had tried to write me out of my inheritance, but the building still knew my name. A year later, I found the hair clip, the one I had gone into the bathroom for that night. It was behind the laundry hamper, dusty, one tooth broken. I held it in my palm and laughed so hard I had to sit on the floor. Such a small object. Such an ordinary reason to walk into a room. If I had not wanted that clip, the message might have disappeared. Elise might have come when I was asleep. Grant might have served papers the next day, with Thomas beside him and a boardroom full of people already prepared to pity him. Life sometimes turns on ridiculous hinges, a hair clip, a glowing phone. A woman on a porch with champagne and a blue folder, a brother who downloaded video before rage could make him useless. A camera my husband installed because he thought surveillance belonged to him. I kept the clip in my desk drawer beside the first clean audit report after Grant left. Not as a shrine, as a reminder that intuition matters, but so do systems. Cameras, copies, passwords, siblings who answer texts, attorneys who pick up after 10, women who stop explaining and start preserving. Near the end of this video, I want to ask you something directly. I pinned a question in the comments. If your husband's mistress came to your door with the documents proving he planned to erase you, would you expose both of them immediately, or use her as a witness first? Go to that pinned comment and tell me your honest opinion. I want to know what you would do in Ava's place. And if this story made you think of a woman being called unstable by the person stealing her life piece by piece, stay close to She Chose herself. Every voice here helps another quiet survivor realize that proof can arrive in the middle of an ordinary night. My husband was in the shower when his phone lit up. I replied to his mistress. I invited her to our house. The doorbell rang, and I instantly wished I had not done it. Then she opened the blue folder, and the truth walked in before my husband could lock it out.